Yadu, one of your dearest devotee. You appeared in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malayalam hymns. So she is giving first reason. First reason she is saying is that the Lord comes for the glorification of great ice king. So here Maharaj beautifully is summarizing various reasons for Krishna's appearance. So first one she is saying is to establish dharma through pious kings. So that's what she is saying, that you come to glorify the great pious king. So that means to establish dharma through pious kings. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavate artah. That reason is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also. And second, she is saying you come to please King Yadu. So about King Yadu, she is beautifully mentioning that what is so special, why the Lord comes to please Yadu in particular. So Maharaj is saying, why among so many family or lineages, Krishna chose this one, that is the lineage of Yadu. So what was the speciality of Yadu? It is mentioned, Maharaj Yadu refused to follow lower material dharma for the sake of upholding his highest dharmic duty. So we see in case of Yadu, his father told him that you please exchange your youth with my old age. And he refused. Why? Because he wanted to serve Krishna. So because he gave up lower material dharma for a higher spiritual dharma, that pleased the Lord. And because of that reason, Lord decided to come in the lineage of Yadu. So that is mentioned here. Maharaj Yadu refused to follow the lower material dharma for the sake of upholding his highest dharmic duty. And he chose to incur his father's wrath rather than giving up opportunity to dedicate his life to attaining his spiritual goal. She was ready to face the anger also of his father for the purpose of upholding his spiritual dharma. That pleased the Lord. And that is the reason, that is the second reason which is mentioned here, that the Lord comes to please King Yadu. Maharaj says that he comes to establish the dharma of renouncing material enjoyment for devotion service, as exemplified by Maharaj Yadu. So that is the second reason that is mentioned. To establish dharma of renouncing material enjoyment So this is the second reason why the Lord comes. When the Lord sees somebody is renouncing material enjoyment for a spiritual goal, that also pleases the Lord. So there is one Maharaj, Anant Swami Maharaj. So before he was a brahmachari in Juhu temple, so he was sharing that how he became a brahmachari. So he was in Bihar and he had done his BSc. And then after that he wanted to go for higher education. And he was being cultivated by His Holiness Gaur Krishna Maharaj. So Maharaj just asked him, what are your plans? He said, Maharaj, I want to pursue now higher education. I have completed BSc. So then Maharaj told him only one thing. Maharaj said, to practice spirituality, what all Bharata Maharaj renounced. Just think how much Bharata Maharaj renounced just for practicing spirituality. Just think about it. Like that Maharaj told to Asit Krishna Maharaj, who is now also Maharaj. So then he thought about it, that how much Bharata Maharaj renounced for practicing spirituality. And then he thought, what I am renouncing for practicing spirituality. So then he understood the meaning and then he joined. That he renounced so much, at least I can renounce my plans to go for higher studies. Like that. So that also pleases the Lord, as mentioned here. So these two regions are mentioned in this verse. This is 1.8.32. Then he says, Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Bhayagat Ajastvam Asya Semaya Vadaya Cha Suradivisam. This is the third reason which is mentioned here, that Devaki and Vasudeva, they did lot of austerities to have Krishna as their son. So this is the third reason which is mentioned to immortalize the devotion of Vasudeva and Devaki, or to reciprocate with the devotion of Devaki and Vasudeva. Lord decided to come. So this is the third reason which is mentioned. To reciprocate with love and devotion of Devaki and Vasudeva. And then Bhavatarayane Bhuvo Nava Ivo Dado Siddhantya Bhuri Bharena Jato Hi Atma Bhavatitaha. Others they say that you come to reduce the burden of this world. And when Brahma, your son, prayed for you, so you have appeared in order to diminish the trouble. This is the fourth reason which is mentioned here. So this is when Brahmaji goes and he prays that, my dear Lord, so much trouble is going on because of Kamsa and so many demons who have come here. So please you come, all the living entities are in so much anxiety and trouble. So this is the fourth reason for Lord to appear, that is the reason or the dharma of compassion for all the living entities. So all these reasons are mentioned as a higher reason in hierarchy. So more than coming for establishing dharma, the higher reason for Krishna's coming is to reciprocate with King Yadu. More higher than reciprocating with King Yadu is to reciprocate the devotion of Devaki and Vasudeva. More higher reason than that is for the compassion for all living entities. Now she concludes the final reason and the most profound reason for Lord Krishna's appearance. Bhavesmin klishyamanana avidya kama karma bhi sarvan smaranaharani Harisyan iti kechana. This is the most profound reason for Krishna's appearance, which Kunti Maharani is saying, that is to renovate the devotion service of hearing, remembering and worshipping. So renovate means already there. Sometimes in temples you will find, please help us to renovate this structure. So already the process is there, the process of hearing, remembering and worshipping the Supreme Lord. But to again renovate it, to make it fresh, to create eagerness, to make devotees absorb or to understand the value, Krishna comes to renovate this process of hearing, remembering and worshipping, this process of devotion service. And then if the living entities they do so, then what will happen is the conditioned soul suffering from material pangs, if they take advantage, then they can gain liberation. So among all the reasons, Kunti Maharani says, this is the topmost reason for your coming. To give opportunity for the devotees to hear about you, to remember you, to worship you, to re-emphasize this process of devotion service, to hear your pastimes, to remember your pastimes. And if they do so, then what will happen is they'll be able to cross over this sansara of birth and death. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada writes a very beautiful line. First we'll read this line. Here, Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect. So the Lord is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect. And what is the mercy of the Lord? How Lord is showing his mercy to the living entities? Because he appears to renovate the principles of devotion service, which consist of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, cooperating, and surrendering unto him. So Lord is so merciful that time and again he comes to establish this process of Navida Bhakti, which starts with Shravanam, that is hearing. Then Srila Prabhupada, before he says that how living entity is supposed to serve Krishna, that is the only function of living entity. He is subordinate to the Lord and his duty is to serve him. But because of illusion, because of misunderstanding, he becomes the servant of the senses by the material desire. That is called avidya. So here in this verse, this line is coming, avidya kam karma bhi. So two things happens. Lord comes in particularly for Sarvan Smaran Arahani, for giving us opportunity to hear about him and to remember him. If we do this, then what will happen is avidya kam karma bhi, this cycle will be broken and bhave ismin klishya mananam, one will cross over the cycle of birth and death. So what is this avidya kam karma bhi? So this is the topmost reason to renovate process of hearing, remembering and worshipping the Lord. And if we do this, then one thing he's saying is avidya, kam, karma, bhi. So because of avidya, material desires come. And because of material desires, one acts. And because he acts on the material desire, those actions, they further deepen avidya. And because they increase avidya, that further creates material desires. And then he acts further to satisfy those material desires. So like that he goes in this cycle of avidya kam karma bhi, unending, never-ending cycle of avidya kam karma bhi. But when we hear about Krishna, then this cycle is checked. This cycle is cut down. So this is what she is saying. Avidya kam karma bhi. And bhave ismin klishya manana. He is able to cross over the cycle of birth and death. So the chain is vicious because ignorance triggers desires which generates kama, that is selfish desire, and then that triggers a selfish activity. And this activity further deepens ignorance, which further generates desires, which further leads to selfish activity. So the conditioned soul is perpetually rotating in the cycle of karma like a squirrel in a wheel. Krishna comes to this world to break this cycle. And how? By giving opportunity to hear about him, he comes and he displays his pastimes. So then she's saying, if we do this, one thing is avidya kam karma bhi. Another reason she is saying is bhavishasmin klishya mananam. We'll be able to come out of the cycle of birth and death. And then further she concludes that when we understand this purpose of Krishna coming, then what happens? Shirvanti gayanti ginanti abhikshanasah saranti nandanti tave hitam janah taveva pasyanti achirena tavakam bahva pravaho paramam padam bhujam. We're saying now in the verse prior to this he told Lord comes in particularly to give us opportunity to hear. Now those who constantly hear, chant and repeat or take pleasure in others doing so, they will get two things. They will see Krishna and they will be able to stop death. So these are two things which are mentioned. Pashyanti acharenaha. Pashyanti acharena tavakam and bhava pravaha paramam padambujam. So one will see Krishna and one will be able to stop the death. So seeing Krishna and escaping death. That is the result one will get by hearing about Krishna. So in many traditions we find people, they have this idea that how can you love someone whom you cannot see? Generally people, Western philosophers, they question that you are talking about loving God, but how can you love someone whom you can't see? So Prabhupada is saying the Lord cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. In order to see him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life that is full of spontaneous love of Godhead. So if you want to see God, then first you have to love God. But the Western philosophers, they say, how can you love God if you can't see him? So then our acharyas, they say, to love him, we must hear the narrations about him. It's not that we have to first see him and then we will love him. Because you cannot see God before you love him. But then without seeing God, how we can love him? By hearing about him. So when we hear the narrations about him from the lips of those who love him, so this verse is quoting from Brahad Aranya Upanishad 456. Atma va are drishtayo shrotyo mantavyo nidhyasitaha. You must see the Lord, and to do this, you have to hear about him, think about him, fully concentrate your consciousness on him. So when we hear about Lord in this way, then we can develop love. Then premanjana churata bhakti vilochanena. Then we can see the Lord. So this necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service. Same thing Srila Prabhupada is saying. Which necessary qualification? The love for the Lord. And that is a qualification to see the Lord. So that is developed by the process of devotional service, beginning from hearing. Now there are two kinds of Krishna Katha. One is Krishna Katha, second is also Krishna Katha. One is Krishna Katha in the sense Krishna is speaking, another is Krishna Katha in the sense it is spoken about Krishna. So when both are heard from a devotee of the Lord, then slowly, gradually, one can see Lord face to face. The reason is that first item, Sarvan, is very important. If hearing is from the right source, it acts very quickly. And then Srila Prabhupada writes very beautiful. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other process become automatically perfect in their own way. Very beautiful statement. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, all other process becomes automatically perfect in their own way. So actually everything starts with Sarvanam. Everything begins with Sarvanam. And if hearing is good, if the quality of hearing is good, then other process also will be good. When Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur got a article written by Srila Prabhupada, and one of his god brother went to him and he said, Swami Maharaj, this is article written by Abhay Babu, should we publish it? Oh, Abhay Babu, he likes to hear. So whatever he writes, you publish it. Because he likes to hear, because he is good in hearing, so naturally whatever he writes, that also will be good. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. When this process is complete, then all other process become automatically complete, like this. Here, we'll read some things which Srila Prabhupada speaks about hearing. This is one, there was a Pandal program in Kolkata, and Prabhupada had spent lakhs of rupees. So one person came and he told Swamiji, why you are spending so much money? Better you could have given this money to feed the poor. What you will achieve by spending and making such a big Pandal program? And Srila Prabhupada replied, we will achieve hearing. By making such a big Pandal program, people who come will get opportunity to hear. In one way, why Srila Prabhupada told we have to make big temples, especially in India, so that people can come and they can get opportunity to hear. Somebody asked Prabhupada, why you are making such big temples? He said, I can sit under a tree, but you will not come there for hearing. I have to make such big temples so that you can come and then you get opportunity to hear. And then another place Srila Prabhupada says is Bhaktilata Bi. So he says, one who has not properly heard from the spiritual master or who does not follow the regulative principle is not fit for chanting or kirtanam. One who has not listened carefully to the instruction of the spiritual master is unfit for chanting or preaching the cult of devotional service. So same thing as we read in the purport. All other processes automatically they become perfect if this process is taken care, because this is from where everything begins, like this. So in creation also everything began from sound, and ultimately in the end everything merges into the sound. Every aspect of creation has sound. Every object in the material world has sound. So that is why sound is the most subtle material element. So here it is mentioned, when the hearing process is complete or one is attentively hearing, then he can properly chant also. Otherwise it is very difficult. So one place this question was asked to Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, how can we go back to Godhead? So then he replies that the Lord Hari, he is transcendental. He is adoksas, he is beyond material things. So there is no way to meet the Lord than to hear about him, because he is transcendental. Discussion about Vaikuntha emanating from the lotus mouth of devotee have extraordinary potency. When these transcendental sound vibration they enter our ear, our consciousness is awakened and we become Krishna conscious. This is because these vibrations descend from Vaikuntha into this world and they help us to go back to Godhead. Discussions about this world only help us to go to hell. The Chaitanya Chandra came to this world to tell us about Vaikuntha, but due to our own misfortune, the teachings of this most merciful personality do not enter our ears. Only the fortunate can understand Mahaprabhu's teachings. If you want to become fortunate, we must develop the propensity to serve. Then the Vaikuntha topics and the teachings will enter our ears and we will understand them. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur would tell, we have to hear with service inclined ears. ये उनका बहुत एक स्पेशल रहता था. So service inclined ears we should have for hearing. So service inclined ears means, who can give some reflection on this? What do you mean by service inclined ears? Huh? We want to? Okay. Mike more. Maybe we are not hearing this for any other reason, like to share with any other persons. So actually, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, these statements are very deep. When he's saying service inclined ears means we are hearing to take shelter of the Lord. We are hearing for no other reason than just to please Krishna. So when we hear with that purpose as a service, that I am conditioned, I am told by my spiritual master, I should hear. As a service, let me hear this divine sound which is coming about Krishna. This is the only hope for me. then that sound enters our ears and then the purification happens. Now another devotee is asking to him that why we don't make advancement despite our repeated hearing Krishna Katha. So he says, if you hear with your ear hole blocked, inattentive hearing yields no result. What to speak of inattention? We must not hear only with the mind because mind is restless. Hearing means following. What is the use of hearing if we do not follow what we heard? That is why we must hear Harikatha with our life. Then we will attain auspiciousness. So he's saying when we say hearing, what is actual hearing? Uh, so what is hearing which impels us to apply. And that is hearing. He's saying if we just hear for any other reason, then we will not make progress. But if we hear to apply understanding this hearing is my life and soul, then we will attain all auspiciousness. So if we hear in a way which will help us and impel us to apply, then we will make spiritual advancement. We must try to make a spiritual advancement from our present position, and this includes hearing enlivening discourses from living source bona fide Vaishnavas. The moment we stop hearing Krishna Katha from and serving real devotees, Maya will follow us. Thus, it is our duty to give attention to whatever actual Hari Katha is being discussed. Our constitutional position will be revived if we hear Hari Katha from a living source through service inclined ears. So this is another point which he says that how if we hear Krishna Katha from living source through service inclined ears, then our constitutional propensity, that is of being a servant, that will be revived. And then he said we can realize the Supreme Lord only by oral reception. Apart from hearing, there is no way to go back to Godhead. So here also Maharaj, after speaking about this, so here also Maharaj is saying hearing process is perfect and complete. Then other process also becomes automatically perfect and complete. So for this to happen, first thing is the quality and the caliber of the speaker must be proper. So here one thing is mentioned about is the when the hearing becomes perfect and complete. First thing is mentioned is the quality or the caliber of the speaker. So one of the most important thing which Srila Prabhupada says is that the speaker should be in a parampara, and best speaker is if he is trying to repeat the message which is in the parampara. So then, and he is trying to follow also that message what he is repeating. Then that person can actually becomes a transparent wave media to transfer the sound vibration. Because the sound vibration, transcendental sound vibration is coming in Guru Parampara. If a person is in Guru Parampara, he is hearing himself and he is trying to apply and he is repeating what he heard, then he can properly transfer that sound. So that is why in hearing, as here Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, many times because being in Kali Yuga, we have a nature and a tendency to go for entertainment, or we have a tendency to go for material components in spiritual activities. hearing also we look forward kahan joke milega zyada, or how the subject matter can be more entertaining to hear, or something else. But then what happens? We'll have a difficulty to actually take the advantage of the process of hearing. The process of hearing means it has to be from the bona fide source, and he should be speaking bona fide message. Then that source or that message is very good, like this. And that is very important also. I saw His Holiness Jayadeva Swami Maharaj when he came here. Every day morning he was giving Bhagavatam class in our temple. After Bhagavatam class every day, he would come back and he would play one lecture of Srila Prabhupada and he would hear. He had a small kind of a sound. He would keep like this and he would hear whole lecture of Srila Prabhupada every day, like that. So you see, many times we young devotees, many times we have this complaint. Prabhuji, Prabhupada is repeating same thing again and again. And His Holiness Jayadeva Swami Maharaj, who is a sannyasi now from more than 40 plus years, but he is hearing every day Srila Prabhupada lecture only. Because they are not going for newness, they are not going for masala, they are not going for entertainment, they are not going for new information. They want transformation of heart. So they are going for the bona fide message. So you see the beauty of Srila Prabhupada, you will find whatever he is speaking, so many slokas he will quote. Right? One lecture, if you see the transcript, minimum 10 verses will be there in any lecture of Srila Prabhupada. And very bona fide. Bhagavatam says this, Bhagavad Gita says this, Bhagavatam says this, Bhagavad Gita says this. And you can see the intent of the speaker also. Srila Prabhupada lectures are very special. So when we have a source like this, where the person is in Guru Parampara and is repeating the message for no other reason than to actually give the right message to the audience. So that source is very powerful. So you'll find many senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada also. They're very pure in their presentation. They will not crack jokes, or they will not try to entertain the audience, or they will not try to come up with something new. They just speak what is supposed to be spoken. Pure message of Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna. Like especially the many Hindi devotees, they like hearing His Holiness Radha Govind Swami Maharaj Katha. And you will find Maharaj verse by verse he will speak. I remember when he came to Kanpur, so we gave him a topic to speak on Dhruv Maharaj. And I remember I had my Bhagavatam sitting very close. And then Maharaj was sitting like this, his health was not so good, and one Bhagavatam was kept in front. Without seeing Bhagavatam, Maharaj just asked, which slok is there on the board? Maharaj, 4.8 point this. Maharaj started reciting the verse without seeing Bhagavatam. Then I thought, Babre, Maharaj ko yaad hai. Then I thought, at least now for one-to-one word meaning and translation. Either he will tell some devotee to speak or he may take Bhagavatam. But without lifting Bhagavatam, now Maharaj is doing one-to-one translation. Without seeing verse here also, without lifting Bhagavatam also, he is doing now one-to-one, and we are repeating behind Maharaj. Then without looking at verse, now Maharaj gives translation. And then Maharaj does not read the purport. Then Maharaj starts Katha. And then first he explains the first verse, then Maharaj recites the second verse, then he is explaining the second verse. And I was turning my Bhagavatam exactly verse after verse Maharaj is going, without looking into Bhagavatam. So just imagine means, because Maharaj would read minimum 6 hours of Bhagavatam every day. When he was a school student, so he would not go to school. He would pack his bag, he would take his lunch box, he would take his Bhagavatam, and just behind the school there was a tree under which he would sit, and the school hours 8 to 2 he would open his Bhagavatam and study. So one day somebody complained to his mother that your son is not going to school for studies. Mother said, what you are saying? Every day he is going, and he comes also on time after 2. He said, no, you just go and check. So next day the mother went and she saw that he is sitting under a tree and reading Bhagavatam. And then the mother told, Arre, you are not going to school and studying, and you are reading all this. How you will earn? How you will have a job if you don't study? And then His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj उनको हिंदी में बोलते हैं, तुम नास्तिक है क्या? Like that Maharaj tells to his mother that, are you atheist or what? Don't you know Krishna maintains everyone? Maharaj told her when he was schoolboy. So like that for years he has done. Even after he joined and was serving. So morning he would do morning program, and then he had programs in the evening because he would go village to preach. And then after morning program till evening program, he would sit under a tree and read Bhagavad like that. So when the message, the source is very pure, who is just wanting to speak. So somebody asked Maharaj, when we preach, so how we should prepare? So Maharaj replied, first you should relish what you yourself are reading and hearing. And then you speak that to others. Generally, we say, you can make this point like that, you can refer this or refer that. Maharaj said, you relish what you are reading, hearing, and then it will come out like that. So when source of hearing is proper, then it will have a lot of impact. So that is what Maharaj is saying, that we have to see the source of hearing is pure. And Srila Prabhupada wanted that devotees, they follow the regulatory principles, they chant 16 rounds, they try to follow what is mentioned in Bhagavatam. To the extent the speaker is trying to follow the message, to that extent he can transfer that message to the audience. To the extent he himself is not trying to follow, to that extent it will be difficult. So in our case also, especially after we spend some years, when we are new, then that is different. But after we spend some years, then we should not look too much for entertainment or masala or for new information. We should look for quality sound vibration. Especially for brahmacharis, it is mentioned, a brahmachari should be hunting for seva and haunted by sound vibration. So we can look for pure sound vibration where actually we are trying to study, understand the subject matter very nicely, like that. And to that extent, because if we are also looking for pure sound vibration, then we will get opportunity also to have pure sound vibration, and then it will have that kind of impact also. Otherwise, we'll keep repeating some stories, some information. That is good for attracting new people into Krishna consciousness, because new people, they can't directly relate to the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada says, preacher means he knows the art of presenting the same message in an interesting way. But then after they become devotees, then they should seriously come in touch with the pure sound vibration. And second, he says this is one. And second, he says this, the second component of success is the attitude and the sobriety of the hearer. So first is the source of hearing, and then second is the attitude and the sobriety of the hearer. Second most important is the attitude of hearer. And in this Maharaj very beautifully he says all the discipleship boils down to one aspect, that is attention. He says all the discipleship, all the training boils down to one aspect, that is attention. So he quotes a verse which is this is from Katha Upanishad. Sarvan yapi बहुभिर यो न लभया शृण्वन्तोऽपि बहुवो यं न विद्यु आचार्यो वक्ता कुशलो स लब्धा आचार्यो स ज्ञाता कुशलानुशिष्टः. He's saying very few people receive the opportunity to hear about the Lord. So very few people get the opportunity to hear about the Lord. Then he says, and even those who do seldom understand anything, because it is rare to find a speaker who himself understands God. He's saying very few people get opportunity to hear about God. Among them, very few people understand about God, because very difficult to get a good speaker who himself is understanding about God. And then he says, however, even after getting a good teacher, most difficult is to get a good student to such a teacher. He's saying it is difficult to get opportunity to hear. And those who get also difficult to understand about Krishna because the speaker also does not understand about God. And even if somebody gets such a speaker, it is difficult to become a good student to such a teacher. And he's saying the most important aspect of a good student is the quality of attention. This is Srila Narad Muni speaking when he got opportunity to hear. Tatranu aham Krishna kataha pragayata anugrehena sarnavam manohara taha sradhaya menupadam vishnuvatah priya sarvasi angamama bhavatruchi. So see, this Narad Muni is saying to Vyasdev that I was so fortunate because I got opportunity to hear from Bhakti Vedanta. So first fortune is if we get a bona fide source to hear from. Then he says, I heard attentively. That is the second fortune on the part of the student. That if we hear attentively. If these two things happens, source is bona fide, source is properly speaking Krishna Katha, and we are attentively hearing, then what will happen is my taste for hearing the message of the Lord increased at every step. Then my taste for hearing this message increased. So now we have so much facility. Shruti was sharing in those days, they were not having such facilities about hearing. So wherever Prabhupada would give a lecture, they would record and they would make cassettes. Those days you might have seen sound system would come and that kind of cassette would come. And then those cassettes were made and they were kept, and it was not easy to have the cassettes also at all the places. So suppose main temples those days were LA, Los Angeles, these temples. So devotees would come to temple, they would purchase those cassettes in a box, and then they would carry that heavy box to their own places, and then they would play those cassettes, and then they would hear the lectures given by Srila Prabhupada. So if somebody has a right source to hear, and then he is very attentively hearing, then he can have this taste increasing at every step like this. So we are very fortunate. Sometimes we find in many other places they speak, but there is so much, you know, uh, so much mixture about so many other things in what they speak. But somehow because of Marshal Srila Prabhupada, we see our message is very pure. And there are some devotees, they stick also to Srila Prabhupada message, they stick also to what is there in the scriptures. And when we get opportunity to to hear from such devotees, and if we hear attentively, then the taste for hearing the message of Lord increased every step. So then he's saying, Maharaj Parshit exemplified the perfect example for whom listening to scripture was literally a matter of life and death. The process is a proactive exercise where we listen carefully. So Parshit Maharaj exemplified this. So in Bhagavad Mahatmya, this story of Dhundukari and Gokarna comes. So this the wife, there was one person there was one wife, and the name of this wife was Dhundli. Dhundli means she was always confused. Somehow in the Puranas, some names resemble the nature of a person also. The name of wife Dhundli means she was always confused. So one day the husband told to the wife that, we will have a child. And she told, Babre, child means 9 months, I have to be pregnant, so much pain, and how I will do my normal activities. So she became very afraid. So she went to the sister, her sister, and she revealed, my husband is talking about having a child, but having a child means having a labor pain for 9 months. and I'll not be able to do my normal activities. I don't know whether I should go for this proposal or not. So then the sister told, don't worry, I'm already pregnant. So I forgot the story. Something she says that don't worry. Some I don't know how the child was supposed to come. Whenever he gives you something, that you can give to me and I will take care. And I'm becoming pregnant, that child you can take. So then she agrees. And then whatever the husband gave something, she threw, and that was eaten by one cow. And through that cow, one child took birth, and his name became Gokarna. So Gokarna means because he had ears which were like the ear of cow, very big ears he had. So he becomes Gokarna. And Dhundakari, this another child was born through this sister, and his name was Dhundakari. So this Dhundakari, from child only, he was very notorious. So he would loot people, he would cheat, and then one day he bet mother, father also very heavily. He threw them out, and then he kept 15 to 20 prostitutes. But when all his money was over, 5 of the prostitutes together they came and they killed him, and then they buried him. And Gokarna was out in Gurukul studying. Later on, when he came home, he saw no one is there. So then Gokarna thought what to do. So that night when he slept, so that time this Dhundakari came in as a ghost to Gokarna and he revealed that I am suffering, please somehow liberate me. So now Gokarna was surprised what to do, how he can be liberated. So Gokarna, he did puja to Surya Dev, sun god, thinking that sun god has seen so many cases. So he must be knowing remedy for him also. So then the sun god comes and he asks what to do. Then Gokarna says that my brother is suffering like this. So how he can be liberated? So then the sun god reveals to him that he has done so many sin. So it is very difficult. He must suffer. I don't see any way he can be liberated. Then he goes back. And then again, Gokarna was confused how to help my brother. Then he thought, let me approach Nardumani. Then he worships, remembers Nardumani. Then Nardumani comes. And then he reveals to Nardumani that this is how the background and now he's suffering, how he can be delivered. And Nardumani says, very simple. You just make him hear Krishna Katha. And by that he'll be delivered. So then the news reaches to all the places and he keeps one kind of a stick, bamboo. In that he requests the Dhundukari that you please enter this bamboo, and the bamboo had 7 kinds of rounds like this, ties, 7 ties in the bamboo. And the news reaches to all the village that Gokarna is about to speak Srimad Bhagavatam and his brother is there and he'll be delivered by hearing that message. So all the village, they also come. And then Gokarna is speaking this message of Bhagavatam. So end of the day, one of the ring would break of the bamboo. And like that, there were 7 rings. So at the end of the 7th day, the 7th ring also broke away. And Vaikuntha Viman came, which was seen by all the villagers. And in front of all the villagers, this Dhumkari, who threw mother and father out, kept 15 prostitutes, looted so many people, burned houses of so many people. He is on the Vaikuntha Viman and he's saying, सही है ना, सही है ना, असली है कि नहीं है? वैकुंठ वासियों को भी टच कर रहा है, तुम सही हो ना, नौटंकी ड्रामा वाले तो नहीं हो? नहीं हम ड्रामा वाले नहीं, रियल है। ये उड़ेगा भी कि नीचे ही रहेगा? नहीं, उड़ेगा भी, बस टेक ऑफ करने वाले। सबके सामने गंगारी ऊपर, सब गांव वाले बोल रहे हैं बाप रे। Then one of the village person asked Gokarna that we also heard, how come only one Vaikuntha Viman came? So many of us are sitting here. Why Vaikuntha Viman did not came for all of us? Then Gokarna tells them that for my brother, hearing was matter of life and death. So he heard with lot of attention. But for all of you, hearing was a matter of another activity. So somebody told, Prabhu, आता हूँ. Then he went. Somebody told Prabhu, थोड़ा मैं खा के आता हूँ. Then he went. तो प्रभु थोड़ा सा नींद आ रहा है, रेस्ट करके आता. So all of you are hearing as a routine work, but in case of Dhundkari, it was his life and soul, and that is why he got transformed. So one thing you will find in bhakti, many times if somebody does even for a small time but with a great quality, then the result comes very fast. On the other hand, somebody is doing for long time with lesser quality, then sometimes the result does not come or it will come after long time. So in one way, if you see Dhundkari, he had only for 7 days and then is delivered. So he is glorified for this quality of attentive hearing. That is what is mentioned here. That all the discipleship, all the training, it boils down to one aspect on the part of a disciple, that is to cultivate attentiveness, that is hearing. And then he's saying is, second is when we hear with faith. So hear with faith means when we understand that how this message is very special. So Prabhupada writes very beautiful line here. He says, Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is attractive not only in his personal features but also in his transcendental activities. Very beautiful. He's saying Lord is attractive not only in his personal feature but also in his transcendental activities. So if you hear attentively, then you will get attracted to the pastimes of the Lord. And before getting attracted to the personal form of the Lord, we have to get attracted to the pastimes of the Lord. When the Yajnik Patnis, they came to Krishna to see, Krishna told you, go back and hear about me. By that you will become pure to associate with me in future. So more than, Krishna says, this is a verse, Krishna says, more than being close to me, you will become more pure by being away from me and hearing about me. So more than having a physical proximity to me, if you go back and if you hear about me, then you can become more pure. Like this. The same thing is saying that Krishna is attractive in his personal form and he is also attractive in his transcendental activity. So when we hear with this faith that if I hear, then Krishna has something to give me. So one can attain the highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord from the right sources. So success of Narad Muni is that he got right sources. And how much Narad Muni heard? For how much time he heard? 4 months. And that was done. After that much hearing, he went and then he perfected his life like that. So one can attain highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing the transcendental message. The process of hearing in the association of devotees is especially recommended in this age of viral, that is Kali. So having this faith that if I speak, then something useful Krishna will speak to me. And this message of Lord Krishna will purify me. So one thing is what we hear that should impel us to apply. Another thing is hearing itself is an application. If suppose sometime we don't understand, Prabhuji, क्या apply करना है, क्या नहीं करना, कुछ नहीं. Just keep hearing. Hearing itself is an application. So once I had taken some devotees to Meera Road in Bombay, and that time His Holiness Bhakti Padma Maharaj, who those days was His Grace Kamal Lochan Prabhu. So I requested Maharaj, can you speak to these students? So Maharaj said, which topic you want me to speak? I told Maharaj, you can speak on practical application of Bhagavad Gita. So Maharaj sat and Maharaj said, this topic he has given, practical application of Bhagavad Gita. So in our understanding, practical means you should take some green liquid, then yellow liquid, mix both of them, then something red should become. So in our case, practical means some activity. But he says in the spiritual life, practical means don't do anything, sit here. Sit. तुझे और कुछ नहीं करना है. Sit. और क्या करें? Hear. उससे क्या होगा? सब कुछ होगा. Just sit and hear. The message of the Lord will enter through ear and it will do his business. आप बस उठ के मत भागो. वो message will enter and then it will purify like that. So that is why when we get such opportunity to hear, especially when we have some senior sannyasis coming and like we have some experience of going to yatras, you sit in front and then the whole environment is created. So many devotees are eager to hear, and in that eagerness you also want to hear, your eagerness also increases, and then some thundering words comes, thud, 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 they enter like that. The same thing is saying that if you hear attentively like this, then it can have a transforming effect. And then he's saying is, so what are the transforming aspect of such hearing? That two things will happen. That is bhava prabha parapamam. That is cessation of repetition of birth and death. That will happen. And he's saying it soon, certainly, very fast, we'll be able to see the Lord. We'll escape death and we'll be able to see the Lord if we are hearing. So these are two aspects which are glorified. One is the source and second is attentiveness and faith on the part of a disciple. Faith that this message will purify me. Faith that I will get something useful from Srimad Bhagavatam. Like that. So there is one His Holiness Mahavishnu Maharaj. So he was given an instruction by Srila Prabhupada that he should make a temple. So for a long time before also, what had happened was he came to spiritual life when he was almost like Vanaprastha, later stages of his life. So then he went to one temple and he was kept in one temple. So now the temple president was very concerned, okay, he's so old, how I can engage him. And he was so sincere, he would go to temple president every day that Prabhuji, please give me some service. And he would think, Arey Baba, inka umar aisa hai, kya seva do inko? So he was trying to avoid him, but then he would go every day that please give me some service. Then becoming frustrated, he told, Aapka ek hi seva hai, you sit here in front of the Lord and read Bhagavatam for God's pleasure. And Maharaj took it very seriously. Every day after prasadam in the morning, he would sit on chair in front of the Lord. He would open Bhagavatam and he would keep reading Bhagavatam. And president also was very happy. ठीक है, एक जगह बैठा है, कुछ तो कर रहा है. And no one knew that Maharaj, he can do something more better. Every day he was reading Bhagavatam like this. So one day one festival came in the temple and he had called one speaker from the outside to give a talk on that particular festival. Somehow at last moment the speaker cancelled his visit. And then now pressure came on him to speak. But somehow he was not so good in speaking. So he became very concerned, now festival is there, so many people are coming and the speaker is not coming, who will speak, who will give festival class? So he was wondering who can give. Then his attention went to Mahavishnu Maharaj. He said, ये पूरा दिन पढ़ता रहता है, कुछ तो बोल ही देगा. So much he is reading, something will come out. He told, इधर आओ. Yes, बताइए. Can you speak on this Narsim Katha? Narsim Chaturdasi is there. I can speak 7 canto. You will speak from any canto. You speak about Narsimha. So when Maharaj spoke, everyone was mesmerized. क्या बोलते हैं महाराज? Oh, temple president भी mesmerized हो गया. बाप रे ये तो. And then he became Mahavishnu Maharaj. Disciples came. He started giving diksha. He started traveling. People started calling for kathas. Then after many years, once he revealed to his disciples that actually Prabhupada told me to have temple. So disciples also became very excited. Maharaj, अब आपने कुछ बढ़िया बात की है, कुछ करने का मौका मिलेगा. अब चलेंगे महाराज, temple बनाएंगे. So their idea was temple construction means you will go collect funds, make life member, invite big people, have big programs, and then we will have good temple. So Maharaj told yes. So please come with me. So all these brahmacharis who were excited out having a temple, they came with Maharaj. So Maharaj came to Rajkot and there is a river So on the bank of that river, Maharaj told, you can make a tent here. So all the disciples made tent. Maharaj said, एक दो दिन यहाँ चेतना बनाएंगे, फिर तो शहर में जाना है, फंड कलेक्शन करना है, टेम्पल बनाना. So Maharaj every day would get up, do morning program, and then from morning to evening, along with the disciples, would read Srimad Bhagavatam. So one day happened, 2 day happened, then they started talking among each other. भूल तो नहीं है, राजकोट किस लिए आए थे? बोले महाराज को याद कौन दिलाएगा? सब सोच रहे हैं ये टेम्पल बन रहा है, क्या बन रहा है, समझ में नहीं आ रहा. 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, Maharaj reading Bhagavatam only. And 6th day, one disciple raised question. Maharaj told, yes, महाराज हम लोग यहाँ पर मंदिर बनवाने के लिए आए थे. तो महाराज told, do you think you are doer? Can you make Krishna's temple? No, Maharaj. Sit down. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything will happen through Srimad Bhagavatam. They told महाराज से कुछ नहीं होगा, ठीक है, हमारा टेंट ही रहने वाला है. Then surprisingly, one lady left his body, and this lady had already made one marble temple of Radha and Krishna. And this lady, before departure, in her last wish, she told her son that give this temple to that person who is attached to Srimad Bhagavatam. And her son was searching for a person who is attached to Bhagavatam. So searching, he came to the bank of that river, and he asked some people, and they told कि एक तो बाबा है जो पूरा दिन भागवतम पढ़ता रहता है. Then he went to that tent and he paid his obeisances that Maharaj, I heard you keep reading Srimad Bhagavatam, you are attached to Bhagavatam. Maharaj said, yes, Bhagavatam is our life. And Maharaj, this is key to Radha Krishna temple, please take it. And Maharaj looked at his disciple. Chale? Then they went. So this is how the temple came. So there are devotees who have certain faith in the message. His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj, whenever he sleeps, he keeps Bhagavatam on his heart and then he takes rest. So much attachment to Bhagavatam. Can you imagine from childhood he's reading 6 hours a day? बचपन से इतना पढ़ रहे हैं, आप सोचो उनका मतलब क्या हो गया होगा चेतना में. करेक्ट, उनके ब्लड सेल की जगह श्लोका फ्लोट होता है. Right. So this message is very powerful, but because we lack quality, so we are not able to experience. So any experience, if anyone wants on any path, then one has to give quality. Whether you want to become a good engineer, good coder, anywhere, you want an experience, then you have to give a quality. And here this message is not material, this message is spiritual. So when Krishna sees a sincere attempt to hear, to surrender, to take shelter of the Lord's message, then Krishna reciprocates through the scriptures. Krishna purifies our heart, and then we are able to develop some affinity for the Lord. So this message, this sound vibration of Krishna will help us to break all our affinity to the material things. And why we have so much affinity for all the material things? Because so much hearing we have done from so many lives about all these things. Just imagine before becoming a devotee, how much hearing we did about sense gratification. How much hearing we did about so many material desires. हम लोग मूवी भी उसी के बारे में देखते थे, किताबें भी उसी के बारे में पढ़ते थे, सोचते भी उसी के बारे में थे, दोस्तों से भी चर्चा उसी के बारे में करते थे, राइट? सपने भी उसी के बारे में देखते थे, है कि नहीं? इतना डीप इंप्रेशन है. बट व्हेन वी हियर इन द सेम वे अबाउट द सुप्रीम लॉर्ड, and all those affinities to material things, they will become slackened, and the affinity for Krishna will arise only when we give quality attention hearing to message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And second is faith that this message can purify me. And third is with humility. If you have a consciousness that I already know, if we have a feeling that it's okay, I already read one time, then it will not transform. There is one Maharaj, His Holiness Lalanand Swami Maharaj. So he has read Bhagavad Gita 150 times. There is one His Holiness Dhanvi Swami Maharaj. He has read Chaitanya Charitamrita 20 times. So they are devotees because they relish. Then the message becomes more and more Nava Yovaram, because this is spiritual sound. So for a brahmachari, this is very important. that is hunting for service and haunted by sound vibration, then nothing of this world will create any problems for him and he can be very happily situated. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.